You have to get realistic about why you're wanting to do these things and not compare yourself to other people, but compare themselves to what you did yesterday or last week or last year. Are you getting better compared to yourself? And if you are, you're making progress.
Welcome to the LO Code Podcast, where we talk about everything from marketing to just general loan bullshit.
In today's episode of the LO Code Podcast, we're going to be talking about how comparison is the thief of joy.
It really is. So
tell me, what does that mean?
Well, the main reason why I want to talk about this today is I always had a really hard time going on social media and comparing myself, my business, my production to people that were doing better than me. And it sometimes would paralyze me from taking action, because I would still be like, well, mine's not going to look as good as theirs. Like shooting a video, mine's not going to look as good as this person's, or, there's always those type of things. And I think that really holds a lot of people back from being their true selves,
Right.
and from getting their message out there.
Right.
I mean, we see it all the time in video. People message us or they, ask for your opinion on things. And like, I just don't even know how to start. I'm afraid to even make one video because it's not going to be good.
Right. Yeah. There's always going to be somebody further along and better than you.
Always.
So if you're comparing yourself to them, you're just never going to start.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, well, I need to start at where their 10-year mark is, well, it's not going to happen. It doesn't exist. It's not reality. You have to get realistic about why you're wanting to do these things and not compare yourself to other people, but compare themselves to what you did yesterday or last week or last year. Are you getting better compared to yourself? And if you are, you're making progress.
Yeah. And
That's more important.
I think a lot of people forget that social media is a dick measuring contest. It really is. People are only putting up their highlights. They're not posting their failures. That's why we're doing this podcast, is to show people what is actually going on, because everyone's always like, oh, it's so perfect. Dude, my life is not perfect.
You know what social media is? It is everybody's movie trailer of their life.
Yeah.
It's the best pieces.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But realizing that's what it is. Like, you're not seeing any of the negative stuff. You're not seeing any of the trials, the tribulations, the issues that every human being has some.
There are lots of tears over here, and you will never see that. And I didn't even realize that I did it that much until one of my friends was like, oh my, you're doing all of these things. And well, I'm like, actually, I sit in my, underwear working from my desk half the time at home. And they're like, oh, I wouldn't even know. Like, you just have such an awesome life. And I'm like, what? I'm pretty boring. But like, you forget, because especially when you're doing this for business, you're posting these things for business. I do batch content. So I might shoot 20 things in one day and then spread it out throughout the month. And nobody knows that I look like a garbage bag for half the time. Like,
right.
So it's fake, guys. It's fake.
Right. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of people that you see that look like they have the best lives are miserable. Look at famous people.
Yeah.
Right. That you see them on their movies, you see, pictures of them out doing stuff. And then you come to find out like this person has an addiction problem, or somebody unfortunately takes their own life because they're actually miserable. So you can't measure yourself based off of people's social media.
Well, and we do it, we're in finance. So we see people's finances all the time. There have been, I remember a realtor, and I'm like, wow, they're just balling. Like, they've got this car, beautiful house. Like, oh my gosh. They were in debt up to their eyeballs. And, it's not for me to judge, but it did make me step back and go, oh, it's not, I could be in that much debt too if I wanted to. And I could have all the things that they have. I just choose not to. So, really put it into perspective.
Right.
What other people are doing.
Exactly. So it's always better to focus inward than outward.
Yeah.
And what are you doing to move the needle towards your goals, not what are other people doing?
Once you realize that everybody is a shit show in their own way, we all are in our own way, I think it makes it easier. Like, I remember I really looked up to this one lady on social media for years. I'm like, oh, she's beautiful and her family is gorgeous and, she's rich and all of this stuff. And I met her and her life is a dumpster fire, but you would just never know. And that didn't take away from how awesome she is. Like, I still love her, but it definitely puts into perspective that we all have our own things. There is nobody out there that's actually living the life that's on their social media.
Right. Because those are just the highlights.
Yeah.
Those are just the highlights. So it just really comes down to finding, I think, what's important to you and focusing, like I said, inward rather than outward.
Yeah. You need to be able to have like a friendly competition with other people, not like base your goals and stuff on theirs. But like, there are people that I see and they do inspire me. I see all the things that they're doing and I'm like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's
right.
a part that it actually works out well for you.
Well, and you always thought that I was crazy, but if I found somebody that I really liked what they had going on or something, I just reach out and I get on a phone call with them. And they're like, you just ask random people to like get on a phone call. I'm like, yeah, I want to learn about like, what the reality is. Hey, what's working, what's not. And I've learned so much from those conversations with people and just be like, hey, I love what you're doing. I'd love to just, have a conversation with you. And, it's opened up a lot of, insightful conversations of things that I could know, oh, I do want to do that. Or, oh, wow, like, no. Does not line up with my goals. Like the way that that's great that person's doing that. But now that I know what the requirements are for that, how many hours they're working or, how many employees they have, what's in place, how much are they spending? Like, we're talking about business here. I'm saying, no, that's not how I want to design my lifestyle. So now I can like take a step back and be like, okay, that's cool, but not for me.
Well, that was a big one is, we see just because we do know a lot of top producers and they're only giving just a little snippet of their secret sauce. And then you see all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and they're working a lot harder than you think that they are. So people aren't doing 100 million a year in production and just having this awesome social life and not doing things like it appears.
Right. There's always sacrifice that has to be made. And whether
in one
it's
way
time,
or another,
money, energy, effort, there's always going to be something.
Yeah.
And so, or maybe 20 years of building processes and businesses that allowed them to then, remove themselves from the day to day, but it took them that long to do it. So everyone's like, oh, I just, started my company 2 years ago. Why am I not there? Well, because you haven't done it for 20 years.
Haven't put the time in.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just talked about this, and I think this will be a great episode, is like short-sightedness versus long-sightedness. The long view versus the short view. I need it now, I need it later. I think we should definitely put that on the agenda for an episode to do.
That'll be a good one.
Cool. Anything else?
I think I just want to say, I feel like I am dragging social media and I'm not at all. I actually use it all the time as healthy competition. I see what other people are doing and I use it to inspire me. But I keep now, because it did, I would look at people and I wish, no, that was just the total wrong way of thinking. But it does, like, it inspires me to want to do other things sometimes.
Right.
So you just have to look at it from a healthy perspective.
Use other people's success as inspiration, not as desire.
Yeah, it did. It made, well, and it wasn't even desire. It would sometimes make me feel bad about myself. Why, like, if they're doing this, why can't I do it? First of all, I don't even want to do it. but you're constantly in that mind frame. Like, if somebody's doing this, I should want to do it too.
Right.
And it's like,
maybe
it's
you don't.
not even,
you don't. And your personal
but even
goals.
if it's not in alignment with you, you still kind of go, should it be? Should I want to do 100 million a year? Like,
Yeah. I mean, and it could just be a competition yourself that you're going to hit that. And then at that point you decide, do I want to continue this or not?
Yeah. I mean, I went down it and I got to where the numbers that I wanted to be at. And then I just pivoted and realized that wasn't exactly what I wanted. But, I feel like there's guilt that goes along with it and you're almost shaming yourself. And it took a long time for me to get past that. So if that helps somebody else do it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you're watching this, is just, reality is a lot different than what's put out there. So comparing yourself is just setting yourself up for, a lot of disappointment.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of episodes that are going to be coming out in the future, and we just kind of hinted at some that we're going to do. If you want to learn more about what we do, go to thelocode.com. We have a bunch of free stuff on there for video, for marketing. We do have our video editing services. We have the Mortgage Masterclass.
Yep.
And make sure that you subscribe on YouTube or on the different podcasting websites, because we put an episode out every Wednesday.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thanks for watching this one. We'll see you on the next one.